ikut sahaja.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning to everyone. I hope everyone can hear me clearly. Anyone can hear me? You guys can give me any reaction, or you can comment in the comment section. I hope everyone can hear me clearly, yeah? All right, I will proceed. So, a warm welcome to our distinguished speaker, all respected participants, and everyone who joining us online through Microsoft Teams and Facebook Live. Thank you for making time to join us this morning. And before we begin, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Liana, a reference librarian from General Tun Ibrahim Library, PJTI, and I am your MC for today's webinar session. Today's session is organized by the General Tun Ibrahim Library in collaboration with the Training and Competence Unit Registrar's Office. Before we start, just a gentle reminder, please keep your microphone muted during the session to avoid any interruptions. And if you are comfortable, you are most welcome to turn on your camera. And if you have any questions along the way, feel free to type them in the chat box at any time. All the questions will be answered during our Q&A session at the end of the talk. So, ladies and gentlemen, today's topic is about research ethics and integrity, which is something very important for all, especially for researchers, students, and academics. Strong research ethics and integrity are the foundation of trustworthy research, and it can help us to make a real impact through our work. Hence, today we invite Dr. Benny Ang. A little bit of background about him. Dr. Benny holds a PhD in pharmacology and toxicology, and he is the platform consultant for Southeast Asia at Elsevier Science Direct. To date, he has published 21 peer-reviewed articles in several Q1 and Q2 journals with a current H index of 11. Hello. His previous research focus was in drug discovery, cancer research, as well as cardiovascular physiology. He carries vast experience in academia industry, including both research and teaching. Prior joining Elsevier, he was also serving as lecturer in university and acquisition manager in an academic publishing house. Currently, Dr. Benny is responsible for establishing, maintaining, and sharing in-depth knowledge of Science Direct within the academic and research community in Southeast Asia region, particularly in Malaysia, Singapore, and Brunei. Creating synergy with the right content for researcher is one of his mission. Currently, Dr. Benny is based in Kuala Lumpur office, and apart from his academic and research engagement responsibility, he is also enthusiastic about drug discovery, natural product research, as well as immunopharmacology. So, without further ado, I would like to invite Dr. Benny Ang to begin his session on research ethics and integrity. Please welcome.
Thank you, Cik Maliana. Good morning to everyone. So it is glad to have received the invite from the Library of UPNM for me to deliver the talk and also the insights on the ethics and integrity in publishing, or particularly in research ethics and integrity. Right. So thanks for spending time, 1 hour to join my session this morning. So I would particularly regard this very, very important issue, especially when we are the one that doing research and eventually to get our research published later. Yeah. So when it comes to research ethics, whether you are just a student or a lecturer or postgraduate students, postdoc, or whether you are the senior researchers or seasoned researchers, so you are no doubt very much aware of the importance of the research or ethical conduct, because plagiarism, research fraud, undisclosed competing interests. So these are just a few of the issues that can threaten not just only the integrity of the science, but also one standing in the scientific community, and it potentially spoil the reputations of your institution as well. So an understanding of the ethical boundaries and rules is paramount to ensure your work and career get off to the best start possible. So why am I saying this research matters an important matter, or why it is matters for all? Because unethical behavior by researcher, it will cause the degrades the scientific record and the reputation of the science in the broader community. And you can see a lot of retractions, a lot of the report on the research fraud, plagiarisms, and everything. So when the research methods or research integrity facing a problem, so this will be causing a lot of, I would say, a trouble in your scientific publication, in your data, and everyone will have a query, will have a doubts on whatever you have published and produced. So on this research sharing, so I will be covering all this part: authorship, competing interest, plagiarism, simultaneous submission, research fraud, salami sliding, and for now, I think generative AI is one of the most important thing in our world now, right? So Gen AI, the use of Gen AI is inevitable now, unavoidable as well. So, but we must always bear in mind on when to use it, how to use it, and when not to use it, and what you can't use AI for. So it will be all be solely covered in this part of my sharing, apart from all others ethical conduct and research misconduct issues that what I mentioned above. So who will be responsible for research ethics? So authors, institutions, publishers, journal editor, reviewer, basically whoever that involved in this publishing ecosystem or publishing process will be solely responsible when there is a research ethics issue or research misconduct happen. So let's first talk about the authorship first. An author is generally considered to be an individual who has made a significant intellectual contribution to the study. So I believe everyone wants to have the authorship or to have their name listed on a paper. Disregard first author, second author, other co-authors, or corresponding authors, right? So there must be some criteria to be met before you will be credited as an author. And first of all, you must have substantial contribution to the study conception and design. Data acquisition means you are doing the experiment. Analysis, you are the one that analyze the result, and you are the one that interpret the result. That is the rule number one. Number two, you are the one who drafting and revising the article for intellectual content. Third one, approval for the final version. The fourth one, agreement to be accountable for all aspects of the work related to the accuracy and integrity of any part of the work. So good to have the authorship, good to be listed as the authors on your papers or your friend's paper or your collaborator's paper. But there will be some consequences if the paper having any integrity issue, research misconduct issue, then the author would also be the one that fully responsible to answer back to the institution queries, to the reviewer queries, to the publisher queries before the retraction happened. So there are also three types of the authorships are considered unacceptable in the scientific community. So the first one is the ghost author who contribute substantially but are not being acknowledged. Yeah. Number two, the guest author who makes no discernible contribution but usually invited or giving as a gift to help to increase the chance of publication. Some people have this misconception, right? They say, probably I would like to invite some senior professor from that field to be included into the my paper, even though that senior professors or the star professor have no discernible contribution, no significant contribution to my papers or to my research, but for the sake of having him or her into the paper can help me to get an easy way of acceptance. I think that is the wrong way to think and wrong way to go. So this would also not make possible or acceptable by the publishers. And number third one, the gift authors whose contribution is based solely on a tenuous affiliation with a study. Right? So there are three types of authorship are considered unacceptable or unethical. When it comes to the competing interests, transparency and objectivity are essential in scientific research and the peer review process. So when an investigator, authors, editors, or reviewer has a financial personal interest or belief that could affect his or her objectivity or inappropriately influence his or her action, these potential competing interests are already established. Yeah. So the investigator, the PI, the authors, the editors, the reviewers should not have the financial or personal interest or belief that could affect his or her decision. Right. So this relationship, also known as dual commitment, yeah, competing interests or competing loyalties. So the most obvious competing interests are usually financially bound or usually involving financial relationship, such as employment, stock ownership, grants, and patent. These are considered direct competing interests. And there are also the indirect competing interests, such as honorarium, consultancy to sponsor organization, mutual fund ownership, paid expert testimony. So the competing interests can also exist as a result of personal relationship, academic competition, and intellectual passion. So an example might be a researcher who has a relative who works at the company whose product the researcher is evaluating. So you see, a researcher is the relative or that company, and that company having a product or produce a product that the researcher is evaluating. So you see, this is already a competing interest establishment, and a self-service stake in the research results, such as like potential promotion, career advancement based on the outcome. Or the third one, personal belief that are in direct conflict with the topic he or she is researching. So I believe all these competing interests is still quite common, whether we are in the publishing, we are in the grant application, or when we are defending or bidding for a grant a presentation. Yeah. So there are some people having a personal belief, not really very much related to scientific finding, but in a direct conflict with the topic he and she is researching. So these are all competing of interest where everyone should be aware of. So when it comes to plagiarism, also another topics or another elements in the research integrity or ethical misconduct. Yeah, one of the most common type of publication misconduct is plagiarism, when one author deliberately use another work without permission, credit, acknowledgement. So most often people thought plagiarism is just a literal copying, but thing is not as simple as that. Um, because plagiarism takes different form, not just literal copying, but from literal copying to paraphrasing some else work and can include you are paraphrasing or you are using someone else's data, words and phrases, idea and concept without giving due acknowledgement or references. So when you are doing such thing, right? This is totally not acceptable. I think when you are starting your career as a undergraduate students or postgraduate students, your supervisors or your professors has been keep on mentioning to you plagiarism, plagiarism, plagiarism. But to understand the concept better, plagiarism is not just about the literal copying, but it also involving when you are using other people data or you are quoting people data, but without given due credit in the references, that is also considered plagiarism. So when I walk around the public university, recently I have found out there are still a lot of students that not aware about simultaneous submission. They thought that simultaneous submission is an easy way out and it is acceptable and it has no ethical issue when come to the research publishing. Yeah, so let me re-emphasize again what is simultaneous submission and why is it not allowed. So simultaneous submission is someone using their manuscript submission to submit more than one journal at the same time, right? By right, you can only submit to one journal at a time until the evaluation or the peer review process is completed. You are not allowed to send to the second, third, or fourth, or fifth journal when the peer review process has not been concluded or finished. So you can only resubmit to the next journal, second journal, and third journal as when you receive the official rejection email or letter from the publisher saying that they have officially rejected your papers, even before or after the peer review. Then only you can submit to the next journal for the next step. But when this simultaneous submission occurs, means the person submit a paper to the different publication at the same time, could be the same publisher, different publisher, could be within the same publisher to other journal titles under the same publisher flagship, right? So this will result in more than one journal publishing that particular paper. So usually they wanted to play a bet, right? Play a gamble. So I submit to 3 publishers or 4 publishers or 5 journals at the same time. I will see who completes or who runs the peer review process at a faster speed. So once the peer review is completed, whoever grant me the acceptance at the earliest phase, I will then reject the rest of the submission once I obtain the acceptance from one particular publisher. So this duplicate or multiple publication occurs when 2 or more papers without full cross-reference share essentially the same hypothesis, means this is technically the same paper, same title, same hypothesis, same data, same discussion, and even the same conclusion. But there are some people very smart. They thought they are very smart. So they changed the title a bit, but the content more or less the same to try to mask away that they are doing the simultaneous submission. Yeah. So this can occur in varying degrees, like literal duplication, totally no change at all. Partial but substantial duplication, change the title, change the abstract, but the content are the same. Or even duplication by paraphrasing. The entire data are the same, but the write-up totally different. So nowadays in publishing companies or in the publishers, we already having a tool based on the AI, we can detect if this paper is a duplicated submission or simultaneous submission or not. If we manage to catch this particular submission, then we will blacklist the author from submitting to all the journal under the same publisher flagship journals, right? In Elsevier, we have 4,000 over journals. So once you are caught, you are blacklisted to submit to the rest of the journal under Elsevier, right? So I really heard a lot of postgraduate student doing such thing, and they are not aware this is actually can trigger the integrity issue or research misconduct, part of the research misconduct. So I would like to emphasize again, simultaneous submission is actually not acceptable, and don't try to do this. Once you are caught, you will be facing some consequences or you'll be facing some difficulty in getting your paper published and accepted. Another issues under research integrities and also ethical misconduct is about research fraud. So this is usually involving the data or the conclusion that were not generated from the experiment or observation, but by invention or data manipulation. In short, without going into the lab, without having to do the experiment, without having to do the survey, without having to do the analysis, you are making up the data or you are manipulating the data. So there are two kinds or two types in research and scientific publishing research fraud. The first one is the fabrication. Fabrications means you are making up the research data, you're cooking up the data and result and recording and reporting them. Means you have not entered the lab before, you have not even done the data collection, you have not even done the data acquisition, you have not even done the data analysis, but you managed to get it done. Sit down in front of Excel, in front of SPSS, key in whatever data that you think from your mind without having to get it from the lab or from the survey research. Yeah. So this is utterly disgusting, which I think should not happen in the scientific community. Yeah. So being a supervisor, sometimes I do understand why the supervisor being so strict to the student and to make sure they fill in the lab log, the logbook of the experiment, just to make sure they really got into the lab and do the experiment and produce the result, and for not sitting at home and cook the result out. The second type is the falsifications. So they did enter the lab, they did acquire the data, they did the data analysis, but probably the research data or the outcome of the result is not what they are expecting, or is outside of the range of what they are supposed to get. Then this will trigger them to manipulate the research materials, the research images, the research data, equipment, or the processes. So they usually changing or omitting the data or result in such a way that the research is not accurately represented. So like some of the data is supposed to be in the increasing trend, but your trend of the increasing is not in a standardized manner, up and down. In order for not being questioned more by your supervisor, right? The student manipulate the data to make it all in a nice manner in the increasing trend. So this is a very obvious type of falsification of the result. Yeah, some people doing DNA, they have this extra band out. This band should not be allowed, or this band should not be appear on the gel. They're trying to use the AI, trying to use the Photoshop to remove it. This is also not acceptable because you are falsify the result. You are changing the result. And some people, after years of experiment, they still cannot get the dot it's supposed to appear under the image, right? They put a dot there, you know, add a dot there just to make the result exist, right? So that they do not need to repeat again and again, and they can be answerable to their supervisors. These are the results that they produce. These are the results that expected by the supervisor or the supervisory committee. So these are also not acceptable. I remember years back, that is one public university affected by this kind of research falsification or the data falsification. The students falsify the data and get it published and include the name of the lecturers or supervisor without having their agreement, and this affected the university and this affected the lecturers. So nowadays, has been many years we implemented the system. All the authors and co-authors will receive the email once the submission has been submitted. So we wanted to notify all authors so that there will be no excuse that the author said, I don't know, the student took my result and published it with my name. So when you submitted the paper, all the authors, be it corresponding first authors or co-authors, will all be notified. So there is no reason saying that the authors did not receive the email notification from the publisher, or they are not aware of what the students submitted without the agreement of the supervisory committee. Yeah. So a person might falsify data to make it fit with the desired end result of a study. Some people say, oh, my result, I did not change my result, but the error bar, is too big. In order to avoid the question, the query from the supervisory committee or the examination committee, WEBINAR committee, I find a way, to narrow down the error bar so that they don't question on my data. I do not need to repeat my lab. So these are all not acceptable at all as well. So when it comes to the manipulation of data, that is not just numbering data alone. That is also something to do with the manipulation of the image, like what I mentioned earlier, right? Image can be manipulated for improving the clarity, like it's too dark or it is too light. You are trying to adjust the tone, the contrast, that is still acceptable. But no specific features within an image may be enhanced, obscure, move, remove, or introduce. When there is a thing not supposed to be there, you take it out. And where is a thing not supposed to be there and you put it in, right? This is not acceptable. So as what I mentioned, to adjust the brightness, contrast, color balance, usually no problem. But nowadays, there are a lot of journals getting stricter and stricter. They will request for the non-edited image version, right? For them to judge whether have you trying to do anything or manipulate anything on the research pictures or the research images, right? So for data access and retention purposes, you must keep all your data and images in a safe file. Should there be any query arise, you can use it to justify. So authors may be asked to provide the raw data in connection with a paper for editorial review. And that's why all data for specific papers should be retained for a reasonable time after publication. So I am the one that always review paper usually once a week if I'm free, or otherwise I usually review paper once a month. So the things that I usually ask before I start reviewing the paper, yeah, the list of publication of all authors, be it first author, co-authors, and corresponding authors. Second thing I will usually ask are the raw data and raw images. I wanted to make sure to try to reduce or eliminate the chances of the research fraud before I spend my time to review the paper, or that at least the scientific paper is worth my time to review, as when the data and the writing are all the genuine one. Yeah, because I can share you my experience last month. I received quite a good write-up on a paper on the research on cancer. Yeah. So this paper is not from Malaysia, from overseas, but I'm not naming out the country. So when I first received the peer review invitation, so I read through the abstract, I read through the content by just first glance of it. I said, quite well write up, quite well written up, and it's good for me to read further. But before that, I would like to review the list of authors as well as their publication list. By knowing that paper came from a hospital and all the authors are medical doctors. So when I requested that, they gave me a list of the publication published by all authors. So I have detected some abnormal things. Number one, all the paper that they published were not indexed. Second things, the paper that they usually publish has not seen a research trend. Suddenly can be cancer, suddenly can be other diseases, suddenly can be a systematic review, suddenly can be drug discovery. So I could not see a trend that they have previously done similar research before, and out of so sudden, this paper popped up. So I written my suggestions to the chief editor saying that I couldn't convince myself to evaluate further because of the authorship issue, and they have no track record in that particular cancer research before, and out of so sudden to come out with such outcome of the result is not convincing, and therefore I will recommend for not continuing with the peer review of that paper. And I have a strong reason to believe that paper is coming from a paper mill. Means they buy that paper to submit it and hopefully get it published and accepted. So although the write-up and also the data are good, but I still couldn't convince myself that it's the genuine research came from their team. Yeah. So sometimes the authors trying to fool the peer reviewer, but nowadays the peer review getting smarter and smarter. You bear a responsibility to uphold the highest level of the research integrity and ethics. So we are usually imposing a very stringent check on that before we even evaluate your content. So salami sliding is also quite a common things now. They are slicing, they are cutting. If you know about salami, right, it's actually a thin sausages. So they are cutting the whole sausage into a thin pieces. They slicing off the research that will form a one meaningful paper into several different paper, and that is what we so call salami publication or salami slicing. So I'm not saying that the whole grant that you've taken, you can only produce one paper. No, I'm not saying that. But as a general rules, as long as the slices of the broken up study share the same hypothesis, population, and methods, and this should not be breaking up, and this is not an acceptable practice. Yeah. So usually salami sliding involves reporting the exact same data in two or more publications. Salami sliding involves breaking up or segmenting a large study into two or more publications. And in the end, it delivers the same outcome to the audience or to the readers. So it serves no scientific value for the scientific audience or readers to actually read that publication. Is actually waste of time. So why is it not allowed? Because you can result a distortion of the literature by leading unsuspecting readers to believe that the data presented in each salami slice is derived from a different subject sample. And this skews the scientific databases, and it creates the repetition that wastes reader time as well as the time of editors and reviewers who must handle and peer review each of the paper differently or separately. And furthermore, it unfairly inflates the author citation record. I have seen some students doing so in order to fight to apply for travel grants, to go to overseas. By then, sometimes their result is not really convincing or up to date yet, right? There are still many more objectives they have not concluded or conducted. So what they will do, they will use whatever they have completed, the objective they have completed, but they slice it off, right? Instead of just one posters, they have their way to slice it in a thin slice salami and come up with 2 or 3 posters so that they can apply for the travel grant to go to the overseas to present. Yeah. So I myself see this a no scientific value kind of practice when it is involving salami slicing. So now I have came to a very, very important part that I usually not talking about it previously, as when we still not having AI tool like ChatGPT, DeepSeek, and Gemini, and any other AI tool. So I would like to also let everyone knows about the Elsevier point of view on AI, right? Especially it is on writing and publishing the research. So people may ask, what is the point of view of Elsevier? Can AI be used? Can AI not be used? And if I use AI on my research writing, would that affect the chance of my publication to be accepted or rejected? Yeah. So I would like to tell you now, AI can be used from Elsevier perspective. However, when I say or when we say AI can be used, it is also very critical to proceed with the caution and strictly adhere to the policy. Right? That's why in the beginning, I was telling you AI, we need to know how to use it, when to use it, and when not to use it. Yeah. So this is well covered because why are we using it with caution? First of all, when it is the open tool like ChatGPT, DeepSeek, Gemini, it usually gather all the data and sources, be it whether authentic or not authentic. So long it is searchable in internet, they will search it and produce that result to you. Second of all, it might also give you inaccurate data. It loss of human expertise. They are not human. They have no brain to think. It has ethical concerns. It has limited understanding of context by the AI tool. They also possess the security and privacy issue, lack of creativity and originality. So I'm going to tell you one by one of this. So in AI tool, we have many AI tool. We have even Science Direct AI. We have Scopus AI. And how is this tool compared to the open AI tool that you can use it for free? So first of all, ChatGPT and Gemini and DeepSeek, all those open AI tools, they have no gate. So once you prompt a question to them, they will search all the data available in the internet, whether is it peer review, non-peer review, right? They are not human, they are AI. So they have no human brain to think whether all these data are correct one or not. The sources are correct one or not. Peer review one correct or not. Index or not, they don't know. So long as it's searchable at the open source, they will source it and produce it with answer. So whatever they produce it to you might not came from the accurate data. But some people or some students may just want to think the shortest way, the easiest way to do the assignment, to do the write-up, will take everything and dump into it, right? So we need to use it with responsible, which I'm going to talk about it later. Yeah. And it also can create some concern on the security and privacy. Yeah. I will also talk about it later. So Elsevier will monitor this development and will adjust or refine AI-related policy when it is appropriate. And our focus is on the writing process and not to the use of AI tool to analyze and draw insight from data as part of the research process. So first of all, authors can use AI to improve readability and also to improve the clarity of the language of their work, be it thesis or assignment. So if they want to improve the readability, the grammars, the writing, the flow, no problem at all. Yeah, they can feel free to do so and use so. But they cannot use AI to replace the key authoring tasks, such as produce scientific work, pedagogic, or medical insight. Yeah, they cannot draw the scientific conclusion. I know some students input the whole thesis into the ChatGPT, right? Then they prompt a question to get the ChatGPT to draw a conclusion for them. So they do not need to think what they should conclude based on whatever study they have done. And AI cannot be used to provide clinical recommendation because it is inaccurate and this will affect human life. So when I say security concern here, right? I think this part, security and privacy. When you are using it to improve the readability and language of the work, bear in mind, you must also aware that you are putting in all your thesis into the ChatGPT. ChatGPT is the LLM, is a robot. Yeah, you are feeding them. You are feeding them with all the data and all your results. So it is no wrong for you to get them to improve the readability and grammars. But when you are feeding them the non-published data and non-published result, bear in mind there is a security and privacy concern that your data and the result potentially leak to other people asking the similar question or asking some question in related to your research field or your research project, then ChatGPT has got the answer that you fed them to feed others. So you must be smart enough when you are using ChatGPT or other open AI tool to refine your thesis, to refine your write-up. Just mask away the important data and important result. Then you replace it with other things or with other symbols. And once the ChatGPT check for it completed, then you replace back the original result and the data. So this has been shared by us to the senior publishing expert in our team. So in Elsevier, we have a team called RIPE, Research Integrity and Publishing Experts. So they are the one who monitor all this, and they are the one to share to us. If you are not putting extra cautious when you are using ChatGPT to check your write-up, then it has a potential to cause data leaks in the future, as anyone prompt the same question to ask ChatGPT later. So authors should be aware of when using AI for writing purpose. Yeah, because of the human oversight, all work should be reviewed and edited carefully. Because AI can generate authoritative sounding output that can be incorrect, incomplete, and biased. Yeah, because only the authors are ultimately responsible and accountable for the content of the works. Yeah, so that's why you must use AI with cautious. You should be aware of when using AI for writing purpose. So there are some questions arise. Can researcher use software to check grammars and spelling error, even though the software might use AI? I think even before the ChatGPT came, before the DeepSeek came into the market, we have done this many years ago, or even the earlier tool we call Grammarly to check our grammatical mistakes. We have used that for many years. So yes, we can use it, no problems. You can use the reference manager software like Mendeley, EndNotes, yeah, to collect, organize, annotate, and use reference to the scholarly article. So these two can be used by authors without any disclosure at all. So if author did use AI assisted tag in writing, should it be disclosed? Yes, right? Authors should disclose in their manuscript when they are using AI or other AI assisted tool or AI assisted technology. So it should disclose a statement that appear in their published work. So I will tell you how to write it and disclose it, and it will help you to support the transparency and increase the trust between the authors, reader, reviewer, editor, and contributor to facilitate the compliance of the term of use, the relevant tool of technology. So this will be the way how you should disclose. Yeah. So in the statement, we usually ask the author to specify the tool that was used and the reason for using the tool. We suggest that author follow this format when preparing the statement. So this statement usually written here. During the preparation of the works, the authors use ChatGPT, use Gemini, use DeepSeek in order to improve the readability and clarity of the language, or in order to improve the contrast or color quality of the images. After using these two or services, the authors review and edited the content as needed and take full responsibility for the content of the publication. Means before anything, before peer review, you yourself disclose to the peer reviewer, to the editor, to the publisher, you admit you are using AI for this and this purpose, and therefore you are being honest to us that you have used this and this to improve the readability and the clarity of the language. So it is therefore I disclose here. So you are not doing anything bad. You just wanted to be honest, to tell people you have used this tool to improve your manuscript, full stop. So what authors should not do after using AI in writing? You should not list AI or AI assisted tool as one of the author or co-authors, or cite the AI as an author, because authors can only be named after a human's name, right? And authorship implies responsibility and tasks that can only attributed to and performed by humans. I know early beginning of the early days when AI first deployed, some people use AI and cite AI as the author, and some people even give AI an authorship. We realized that mistake and we retracted the paper already, or at least sent for correction. And after that, we already done the thorough check where AI should not be named as one of the authors, or AI should not be cited. So the use of Gen AI and AI assisted tool in figures, images, and artwork. Elsevier does not permit the use of Gen AI or AI assisted tool to create or to alter the image in submitted manuscript. This may include enhancing, obscuring, moving, removing, or introducing a specific features within an image or figures. Yeah. So you cannot use AI to alter, to change background, to introduce something, to get a new band into it, right? So this is not acceptable at all. Don't underestimate the power of publisher. We have now a lot of advanced AI tools also to counter check all the submitted manuscript as well as their data and images. So adjustment of brightness, contrast, and color balances are acceptable if they do not obscure and eliminate any information present in the original. So usually nowadays, even being a reviewer like me, I will ask for a pre-AI adjusted version or raw images for us to do the editorial assessment before we do the peer review on the content. So the use of Gen AI or AI assisted tool in the production of artwork, such as for books or commissioned content, covers the graphical abstract is not permitted at all. So I hope after this session, not just by the research fraud, the plagiarisms, the data fabrication, the data cooking, but when come to the Gen AI element, all of you can be more aware of how to use it with responsible. The responsible use of Gen AI in research publishing and also in research workflow as well, right? So I have done my sharing for this morning, which I think I am now able to open the floor for Q&A. Please feel free to type your question in the chat box, or otherwise you can unmute yourself to ask me question. So I am okay for either way of the question. So I have got one question. Some people post their papers on preprint site before peer review. From the ethics point of view, is that considered responsible? If I publish my papers there, will journals still accept it later for formal publication? Yes, for preprint, nowadays it is very common. People wanted to publish in preprint before the peer review. People just wanted to leave a footprint there, saying that I have done this research and I have get it done first. I put a footprint there. So not necessarily to be accepted for publication. And even though if you submit your paper after you have your preprint published, people will still do the proper peer review. It should not jeopardize any chance of the peer review and also acceptance into the journals. Yeah. So journal will not see whether it is in a preprint already. But if you think your data is too private and you are not comfortable of sharing it yet, you are worrying about the data leak, then yeah, you can choose not to make it available at the preprint. Yeah. But otherwise, some of the early data or early research, people believe it, they wanted to claim I'm the first one who done this research, although it has not passed the peer review, but I leave my footprint there. and at the same time, they are submitting it for peer review in the journal publication. So I hope I answered that question. Yeah. Any more questions that the floor wanted to ask?
Yeah, I have a question for Dr. Benny.
Yeah, sure.
So nowadays, there are many assignment helper services which widely available on social media platforms. So from this, but the perspective of research ethics and integrity, what are the potential risks or ethical concerns that students should be aware when they are using such services? And how can these students maintain their academic honesty while seeking this kind of assistance?
So that's why I say AI has to be used it with responsible. So I believe your question is a very good question. First of all, it's a two-way, I would say two-way responsible. One, the lecturer must also deliver the correct way of using AI, right? And we cannot stop the student from using AI. And at the same time, the student must also know when to use it, how to use it, and when not to use it. Although AI give you certain answer, but it's also the responsible of the student to double check, to validate the answer, even though with the references given, right? They should also again verify that the references given them in citing that answer is the correct paper or not. Sometimes there will be hallucination happen. They give you the wrong citation, give you the wrong references, then everything goes wrong. So yes, AI give you an easy way to complete your assignment, complete your write-up, but at the same time, you just need to spend a little bit more time to double verify whether the answer given and the references given are correctly cited or not. Yeah. So we can't avoid them for using AI tool in nowadays for whatever reason, for academic purpose, for research purpose, but we need to have the best practices on the use of AI. I hope that answer useful.
Yes, thank you, Doctor.
Yeah.
There's another question in the chat box.
Yeah. For early career researchers, what kind of training or resources do you think are essential to help them better understand the research ethics? Oh, very, very good question, because I think for postgraduate students, the very, very core subject that they need to take research methodology. So I think if we impose a strong elements on the research integrity and ethics into their research methodology course, that will help them to plant a seed on the research ethic and integrity since the very beginning of their study. So by the time they grow up, in future they might be the lecturer, the researcher, the scientist. Then they already have a strong sense of research integrity, a strong sense on the a good ethics on research publishing. So that will really help them to understand better from the beginning of their study or during the beginning of their postgraduate training. So that is my I would say my comment. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Doctor, for your comment. And another question: is there any specific AI generated percentage allowed by Science Direct or Elsevier when submitting a paper? And then, in your opinion, how much AI involvement or content overlap is still considered ethical?
So we do not have a count for overlapping because it is not the same like plagiarism. Because you are using AI, first of all, you are writing out your own content. I believe so. You are not solely relying on AI. And I assuming this is about improving the readability, right? So you are writing out on your own original articles, but you are using AI to refine it. So that is not so-called a plagiarism score or redundancy score by authenticates or by so other tools. You cannot exceed 20% or 30%, right? So I'm assuming you are using the AI tool to improve the readability. You are not using the AI tool to write for you, yeah. Because a very experienced researchers or peer reviewer, we can definitely know that kind of writing is written by human or by robot. So we do not have certain percentage on that, but we have percentage on plagiarism score.
Okay, thank you. And I think for the last question,
Yep.
what advice that you can share to the researchers who encounter ethical dilemmas during their work?
First of all, they must be wholly responsible for all the data they generated, because this is the result and the research data that holds their name off. When they are publishing it, the whole publication has with their name and with their supervisory committee's name. Yeah. So if they are not upholding the highest level on the research integrity and ethical research, good ethics in the research uphold to the highest level, then potentially this might stain their name. And once your name is stained in the academic community, I believe that that would be severely affecting their reputation in the scientific field. So that would be my advice. Please uphold the highest standard of the research integrity and ethics when you are doing your research work.
All right, Dr. Benny, thank you so much for the answer. So I think if there is no more question, I will close this Q&A session. And so, on behalf of the General Tun Ibrahim Library, I would like to express our heartfelt thanks to Dr. Benny for sharing his valuable time and insights with us today. To all participants too, thank you for your participation. And before you leave, can everyone open your camera for us to take a photo? Is everyone ready? Can anyone spend just a second for us to take a photo together? All right. Okay. All right. If one is ready, okay, I'm gonna take a picture. In 3, 2, 1, smile. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you again, everyone. And please, a reminder to everyone, don't forget to fill in the feedback form in the chat box. And with that, we officially conclude today's library webinar series 7. And take care, stay safe, everyone, and have a nice day. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. See you. Bye bye.
Thank you, Doctor.